Уважаемые дамы и господа, министр
Ladies and
иностранных дел
gentlemen,
Российской
Minister
Федерации
of
Сергей
the Foreign
Викторович
Affairs of the
Лавров
Russian
и
Federation, His
министр
Excellency Sergei
иностранных дел
Lavrov, the Minister
Азербайджанской Республики
of the Foreign
Jeyhun
Affairs of the Republic of Azerbaijan,
подписывают
Jeyhun,
план
Bayramov,
консультаций
for signing
между Министерством иностранных дел
consultations
Российской
plan
Федерации
between
и
the
Министерством иностранных дел
Foreign Ministry
Азербайджанской
of the Russian
Республики
Federation,
на
Foreign Ministry of the Republic of Azerbaijan for the years 2026-2027. We also need to have a nice paper like this. Yours looks beautiful. Colleagues, we start the press conference of the foreign ministers of Russia and Azerbaijan. Colleagues, we held useful, substantive, trust-based talks with His Excellency Jeyhun Bayramov, Foreign Minister of the Republic of Azerbaijan. We have noted the consistent development of our relations in the spirit of friendship and good neighborly relations based on the declaration of the Allied cooperation signed by Presidents Putin and Aliyev in Moscow on February 2nd, 2022. We also noted the regular dialogue that is maintained between Moscow and Baku at the top level. On March 11th, a phone conversation between our presidents took place, and during this conversation, Russian leader expressed his gratitude to the Azerbaijani side for the effective, friendly assistance in evacuation of our nationals and citizens from Iran this spring when the United States and Israel started their aggression against Iran. And also, our Azerbaijani friends and neighbors helped us a lot with delivering the humanitarian aid to the people of Iran via the territory of Azerbaijan. We've also noted the recent statement by President Aliyev at the forum in Shasha about the Russian-Azerbaijani relations getting normalized and all the difficulties are left behind. So we have reaffirmed this reality once again from both sides, and we agreed that after this short break we will resume our activities, and we welcome the development of intergovernmental ties also on the level of the heads of governments of our countries. There is an interparliamentary colleague that is actively maintained. The head of the Federal Assembly met with her counterpart, and the Intergovernmental Commission had a meeting, and it will hold its next meeting in Moscow, and we are maintaining an active dialogue between foreign ministries at all levels. Our deputies are in touch, the heads of departments are in touch, and the plan of consultations that we signed today for the years 2026 and 2027 will also help with this process. We discussed trade and economic cooperation, considering the fact that in April the Intergovernmental Commission held its regular meeting, and we stated that there is a mutual interest in further expanding the trade turnover. Last year, the volume of the mutual bilateral trade reached almost $5 billion. Russia remains one of the top economic partners of Azerbaijan, and there is a great potential to enhance the trade between our countries and also direct investments between our countries. Our investment into Azerbaijan amount to almost $11 billion. In the Republic, there are more than 1,400 commercial enterprises with Russian capital. We also discussed joint work between Russia and Azerbaijan in Iran to tap into the logistic potential of the western branch of the North-South International Transport Corridor. And we also mentioned that Russian-Azerbaijani intergovernmental agreement that was signed in Moscow, and it is being implemented. Under this agreement, cargo transportation is getting enhanced, and also the bilateral commission took place on the water resources of the transborder Samur River, and both parties are satisfied with how these projects are being implemented and agreements are being carried out. And we also focused on the resumption of the full-fledged cooperation in the cultural and humanitarian fields. We plan to establish Russian-Azerbaijani University in Azerbaijan, a branch of the St. Petersburg State University. Currently in Russia we have some 9,000 Azerbaijani nationals studying here in Russia, and we also discussed the establishment of schools at the embassies of the both countries, and we also discussed in detail matters of the global and regional agenda, and we also mentioned how important it is to continue to coordinate our efforts to stabilize the situation in South Caucasus and the Caspian region. Russia consistently supports the effort of Azerbaijan and Armenia aimed at the full-fledged and comprehensive normalization of relations based on the trilateral agreements reached at the highest level that were reached in 2020-2021, and we still open to help both Azerbaijan and Armenia in their efforts, and a lot has been done in terms of the economy by the trilateral working group at the level of the deputy prime ministers, and we believe that all those accomplishments are still relevant today. And we also discuss the issue of the attempts of the collective West countries to use the South Caucasus as the stage for geopolitical struggle, and we see there is a great potential for the cooperation in the format, in the 3+3 format that unites three South Caucasus countries, namely Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia, and their neighbors Russia, Iran, and Turkey. This mechanism, and President Aliyev mentioned that on July 13th, about how important this mechanism is, because it can resolve any regional challenges with the participation of the countries of the region and their direct neighbors without any interference from any external actor. And we welcome the fact that on the sidelines of the St. Petersburg Economic Forum this year, a meeting was held between the experts from this 3+3 format, and all the 6 countries were represented at that meeting. We hope that in the nearest future our Azerbaijani and Armenian colleagues will agree on the schedule of their ministerial meetings, and then the decision will be made if this meeting will be held in Baku or Yerevan, and then the next meeting after that will be held in another capital. And we also discussed the cooperation in the Caspian Littoral Organization. We stand for the maintaining of the environmental balance of this unique water body, to use it as the territory of peace and stability, and we will continue our effort in all kinds of formats, including CIS, OSCE, the United Nations Organization, and we will support, as we traditionally do, each other's initiatives at the multilateral fora. We are satisfied with the talks that we held. We believe that they will help us strengthen our cooperation in the future going forward, and it will help maintain peace, stability, and security in South Caucasus as well. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to yield the floor to my counterpart, His Excellency.
Сергей Викторович, уважаемые
Minister Lavrov, members of the press, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to express our gratitude to the Foreign Minister of the Russian Federation, His Excellency Sergei Lavrov, for extending us an invitation to visit Moscow, for the traditional hospitality extended to our delegation, and also for the substantive discussions that we had earlier today. This format provides a good opportunity to frankly and substantively discuss the entire spectrum of bilateral agenda items and to discuss also regional and global issues of mutual interest. Azerbaijan and Russia are neighbors, united by centuries-old historic, cultural and humanitarian ties. Our countries, relations between our countries are of allied relations, and there are close, strong ties between the peoples of our countries, which serves as the foundation for the interstate relations as well. In our recent past, we faced certain difficulties in our bilateral relations, and that was something that we mentioned earlier during our discussions. And with the sense of satisfaction, we would like to say that our two states managed to overcome this difficult period in our relations and to completely normalize the entire spectrum of the Russian-Azerbaijani relations. And I would like to mention also that this was made possible due to the personal stance of the presidents of our countries, and this full-fledged process, the process of the resumption of full-fledged relations, was made possible by the summit between the two presidents on the sidelines of the International Forum in Dushanbe, and I believe that we had very substantive, fruitful and productive business-like talks, and we discussed the entire range of our cooperation. We also discussed the agreements that were reached at the top level previously, and we also discussed the prospects of cooperation in a number of fields. And we also discussed the trade and economic cooperation between our countries, despite the difficulties that the global economy is facing currently. With satisfaction, we noted that this area of our cooperation has a positive trend, and the trade turnover between Russia and Azerbaijan in 2025 was some $4.9 billion, and this positive trend in comparison with 2024, the growth was some 2.5%. And a special role in the entire complex of the Russian-Azerbaijani relations in this context, in the context of economy, finance and investment, is played by the Intergovernmental Commission of our two countries. Its 24th meeting took place this April. Also this year, we established a business council between Russia and Azerbaijan, which is going to bring together business circles and private entrepreneurs from our two countries. Azerbaijan consistently develops the state-of-the-art transport infrastructure. It is important to enhance the interconnectedness in the region. We believe that this track is very important, not only in the context of the mutually beneficial cooperation between Russia and Azerbaijan, but also strengthen economic resilience of the entire region. It is in this context that we discussed the implementation of the agreement that were reached in terms of the North-South International Transport Corridor, and we also discussed the matters of the multi-modular transportation and also the implementation of the various logistic routes. The humanitarian component is a traditionally important part of the cooperation between Russia and Azerbaijan. We mentioned the need of maintaining context and enhancing context in the humanitarian, cultural, education, sport, maintaining the centuries-old humanitarian ties between our countries. And we also focused on a matter of the environment protection, the reduction in the level of the Caspian Sea, which can have some drastic economic and social consequences, and we agreed that there is a need to join the efforts of all the Caspian littoral states to carry out necessary scientific researches and to take necessary steps to stop this process. And we also discussed various items of the regional and global agenda, and we focused on the situation in South Caucasus, the 44 civil war of the Azerbaijani people. It created new realities on the ground in South Caucasus, and these reality is now based on the supremacy of international law, and I would like to emphasize that it is also based on the territorial integrity and importance of the internationally recognized borders. The recent historic processes that took place in the context of the normalization of relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia, including the fact that the peace agreement was initiated, it creates good foundation for the long-standing peace and prosperity in our region. During our discussions, I briefed my counterpart about the restoration processes taking place, reconstruction efforts taking place in the returned territories, in the liberated territories, bringing back the internally displaced people to their homes, and also what is happening currently in the process of the normalization of the relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And we can confidently say that there is a de facto peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and those peace initiatives, positive initiatives taken by the Azerbaijani side that we are taking to strengthen the trust between our countries. They did great. They brought a lot of good contribution to the matter of attaining the jure peace. And this process will establish the necessary conditions for the enduring long-term stability and prosperity in the region, where trust will prevail. In the context of the regional and international matters, we also discussed the situation in the Middle East under the condition of the instability that is still exists. The diplomatic efforts and the dialogue and the adherence to international law are the instruments that could be used to prevent the further escalation in the region, that could help prevent the humanitarian degradation and establish at least some minimal conditions for the regional or a wider cooperation. We still have deep concern caused by the armed conflict between Russia and Ukraine that continues to cause human suffering and has a strong negative impact on the stability in the wider region as well. Azerbaijan consistently reaffirms its adherence to the principles and norms of international law, and it urges to decrease the level of escalation, to de-escalate the situation, and to find a way to resolve the conflict peacefully. Also, in the context of the international agenda, we discussed the cooperation in various multilateral organizations. And I also share the estimates expressed by His Excellency Minister Lavrov that today's talks were constructive and substantive, and they will serve a further promotion of the positive agenda between our countries as we agreed today, also in various matters of mutual interest, both regionally and globally. And in conclusion, I would like to once again thank His Excellency Minister Lavrov for the invitation to visit Moscow. We're ready to take your questions now, colleagues, please. Hello, Minister Lavrov. I've got a question for you. International Transport Corridor, the North-South Corridor, is one of the key transport connectivity projects. During recent contacts with the Iranian side, did you discuss the implementation of the railroad between Resh and Astara, which is seen as the missing link in this corridor, and what other matters are still unresolved? And what do you think about the prospects of expediting the implementation of this project and launching this project finally? Yes, we discussed this topic. It is vital, especially in the situation when the crisis in the Strait of Hormuz is not going to end, from what we can see, and the global economy and the global supply chain suffer from this, and the state of affairs in our trilateral project. Well, I believe we can be optimistic in this regard because recently we heard from our Iranian counterpart that they completed their groundwork in Resh Astara, because without that we could not start the work on the railroad. And recently the heads of the three railway organizations from Russia, Azerbaijan and Iran, they had a meeting and they discussed practical matters, and now when all the necessary groundwork has been completed, so I believe we will see some progress because all the three parties are showing interest. And as a follow-up to this question, I've got a question for the Foreign Minister of Azerbaijan, His Excellency Bayramov. So what about the Azerbaijani stretch of the corridor, including the waterways and railroads? Thank you. From the very beginning, Azerbaijan was an active participant in developing and promoting this project, the North-South Transport Corridor. As I said, for us, the intensification of the connectivity between the regional countries is of great importance, and this project connects to our great neighbors, Russia and Iran, so for us it's also a priority. And in this context, a few years ago, bilaterally with Russia, we agreed on concrete aspects in terms of the Azerbaijani stretch of the corridor, and we are implementing, we are carrying out our obligations, and railroads of Azerbaijan by 2028, the throughput capacity would be 5 million tons. And there is no doubt in this regard, this project is being implemented in accordance with the schedule, and if all the works that the Russian Federation is implementing or is planning to implement in the territory of the Islamic Republic of Iran, if need be, Azerbaijan is ready to enhance the throughput capacity through its territory. And there are elements in Iran, in Astara, but Azerbaijan is making its investment and using its capital. The railroad terminal is almost completed now. We believe it's 98% ready, but in reality it's almost completely ready by now, and we just need to commission this terminal jointly with the Iranian side. News.ru agency. News.ru, news agency. Your Excellencies, Minister Lavrov, Minister Bayramov, I've got a question for both of you. President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, said that the Russian-Azerbaijani relations have been normalized. What do you think about the current state of the bilateral dialogue, and what areas of the bilateral dialogue are the priorities for the near future? And what concrete agreements did you reach during today's talks? Well, I believe we told you all about it in the opening remarks. Well, if you have to ask this question, your editor wanted you to ask this question. We can say it once again. We signed the plan of consultations that will reinvigorate our contacts, the contacts between our foreign ministries. We have not ceased to maintain contacts, but now it is going to be even more active, and we are going to implement the most relevant items of the bilateral agenda. And we also looked into what our foreign ministries can do on the economic track to support the decisions that were made in April during the Intergovernmental Commission meeting at the level of the Deputy Prime Ministers. Thirdly, we discussed the activization of the cultural, educational exchanges, including the various tours and the establishment of the Russian-Azerbaijani University. And on behalf of Russia, the St. Petersburg State University is going to play the foundational entity, founding entity. And we also discussed the media coverage of our relations across all fields. We are going to organize various meetings with the participation of the information department of the foreign ministry, and we are going to use other channels as well. And we are interested in seeing the media outlets helping us in resolving various misunderstandings and cover our relations in a more objective way. Because there are those who are trying to cover our relations in a negative light, so there are enough of such entities in both countries, unfortunately. And also the cooperation in the area of the Caspian Sea was one of the pragmatic steps, practical steps that we will be taking, and the Resht-Astara stretch of the international north-south corridor. And as for the Caspian Sea, we discussed the reduction of the water level at the sea, and we discussed what measures can be taken to resolve this issue, to stop this process. And I believe there will be a meeting of the 5 littoral states to discuss this, how we can use the potential of our common Caspian Sea. And also the 3+3 mechanism for South Caucasus. We discussed that as well, and recently the president of Azerbaijan said that this mechanism, this format was very important, and we welcome this statement, and hopefully we will have a chance to organize a meeting in this format. Well, not to repeat what my counterpart said, because mostly we've already covered all these matters at length. Just a couple of elements, a couple of things that I can add. Well, first of all, the intensity of the project in trade and economic and investment cooperation between our countries. The Intergovernmental Commission was mentioned a number of times already today. April, it held its previous meeting. Another meeting will be held before the end of this year. But there is a need for regular contacts to be maintained, considering the agreements that we already have. There is an agreement between deputy prime ministers and Mustafayev and Averchuk. They plan to meet this September to discuss a number of areas of cooperation. Also, in the nearest future, we expect the resumption of direct flights that were under certain restrictions and limitations after the well-known tragic incident that took place in December of 2024 with our civilian plane. And as for the 3+3 platform, I would like to mention the position of Azerbaijan once again. Mr. President Aliyev, back in 2021, was among the first to suggest this initiative. Also, I believe it is important to mention that in 2021, considering the situation in South Caucasus, Back then it was different. Now the situation has changed drastically. 3 meetings took place in Moscow and Tehran and Istanbul. The last one took place in 2024. And our position is the following. Back in 2024, after the third meeting of this forum, Azerbaijan suggested to hold the next meeting in Azerbaijan. We believe that this format is in demand, it is important, but member states, they need to discuss the entire range of the matters that are of mutual interest for all our countries. And if there is this understanding, if there is this consensus, then the proposal to host the next meeting in this format, we are still open for this. I've got a question for Minister Lavrov about the cooperation in the Caspian Sea. It is traditionally important part in the 5 littoral states cooperation agenda, and the state of the Caspian Sea and the reduction of the sea level in the water level in the sea is causing a lot of concern. What measures could be taken by Russia and other littoral states to strengthen cooperation in the Caspian Sea, to preserve this unique ecosystem and to minimize the consequences, both economic and social, of this shallowing of the Caspian Sea? Well, we discussed the need to call upon our Iranian friends to ratify the agreement on the Caspian Sea, because all the other countries ratified that agreement. Iran did not make that step yet. It is essential to resolve at least the legal framework around the Caspian Sea. Even though the obligations that this convention covers in practice, in terms of practical steps, the 5 littoral states are trying to implement, but still this agreement must be ratified. As for the environmental situation, I can say once again that the president of Azerbaijan was among the first ones to talk about this, and currently we plan to have the various events and meetings between the 5 littoral states to address the issue of the shallowing of the Caspian Sea. Azerbaijani colleagues agreed to support this initiative of the Russian side. All the other states are also open for this, and we regularly making the expeditions of various experts to the area so they could look into what is happening to the environmental situation there and all the other efforts to preserve this unique water body. We will support every effort in this regard, and I believe all the littoral states share this understanding. Thank you. And the final question, RT TV channel, please. Minister Lavrov, what do you think about the continuing aggression by the US against Iran? What are the risks for the global security, the continuation of hostilities there, and how could this aggression and escalation affect the talks to resolve the Ukrainian crisis? First of all, we really hoped and we actively supported the steps made by the United States and Iran when they signed a memorandum on the settlement. The parties were also praising this document, speaking highly of this document. It seemed that it would be really a breakthrough, but this did not yield the result that we expected. The parties are accusing each other, exchanging missile strikes, and not only the countries involved in this conflict are suffering, but also the Gulf Country Cooperation Council member states are also suffering because they have American military infrastructure in their territories. And in our contacts with all the involved parties, we urge everyone to cease fire as soon as possible and to bring back the situation, back to the status quo when the Strait of Hormuz was open and it functioned without any issues, without any fees, without anything, without any obstacles and hurdles. And now when we hear our American counterparts saying that the free navigation must be resumed in the Strait of Hormuz, that's how it was before the United States and Israel started their aggression. But, well, we have what we have. You mentioned there are risks in terms of security. There are also risks in terms of economy, the economic situation, because the Strait of Hormuz is one of the main arteries that is not fully open, and the Houthis, they said that the aggression against Iran will continue, then they can shut down the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and then the situation will really worsen for the global trade and for the oil trade, first of all, but not only. So there are still risks. The Israeli leadership publicly claimed that they are not restricted by the memorandum that Iran and the US sent, but, well, the other parties are saying that the memorandum is not functioning anymore as well, but I believe that Israel pursuing aggressively its line in Lebanon, in Syria. Everyone seems to forget what's happening in Palestine, even though there are some signs of the further complications are evident. And if they implement their policy in East Jerusalem and on the West Bank, I believe it will make it impossible to establish the Palestinian state. And Prime Minister Netanyahu publicly said that there will be no Palestinian state ever. So the risks are accumulating, and in this regard I would like to remind you about our idea to develop security concepts in the Persian Gulf area, where the regional countries would be represented, not only 6 Arab states and Iran, the literal states of the Persian Gulf, but also Jordan, Iraq, the League of Arab States were invited to be a part of this mechanism, and also with the support of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. Saudi Arabia is also standing in support of this dialogue, as Oman, as other countries, and I hope that other Persian Gulf countries will support this mechanism. And Iran on many occasions said that they are open for this kind of dialogue. And China and Egypt, Pakistan, countries that are also trying to facilitate, to mediate these efforts, and we are highly value these efforts. But there are also countries who do not want to see Iran making peace with its Arab neighbors, those who started this to drive a wedge between them, to they want to see countries getting united against Islamic Republic of Iran, to replace this country, I put it this way. So we are still pursuing our initiatives. We remind about our initiatives to the United States, to our Israeli counterparts, to the Persian Gulf countries. As for the impact on the Ukrainian crisis, well, the Ukrainian regime is worried that this situation is distracting everyone's attention from the support that this regime wants to see, and they want to receive more and more support from the West, actually, but it distracts the United States, among other countries. And Europe really wants to drag the United States into the mode of the full support for the Kiev regime. And after the G7 summit and after other fora and after other events that took place in Europe, for example, after NATO summit, Macron proudly claimed that we pushed the United States from the Anchorage position that is non-existent anymore. Now they completely support Ukraine because they demonstrate and they symbolize European values. Even though we mentioned that on many occasions that Ukraine is the only country in the world that banned an entire language. In Azerbaijan, they do not ban Armenian language. In Armenia, they do not ban Azerbaijani language. In Israel, you can speak Persian, you can speak Arabic. And in Ukraine, you cannot speak Russian because it's banned officially from the legal standpoint. So going back to your question, how the situation in Iran will impact the situation in Ukraine, well, mostly they are worried that it distracts the Americans and it stops them from joining this other countries who are trying to exert pressure on the Russian Federation. And now there is speaking that Kushner and Witkov, the negotiators, can finally do something if the situation there will be resolved. I believe we have shown our goodwill on many times in 2014 and 2015. Starting from then, we've supported all the initiatives no matter who was in power in Ukraine, and we supported the initiatives by the European Union that were promoted by France and Germany that happened in 2014 and 2015 and 2019. And Zelensky, he attended these meetings, all the agreements that were made there, we were happy with them, we supported them, but not a single agreement was implemented, neither by the Zelensky regime nor by Poroshenko regime, and agreements reached in Anchorage. Those were obvious things. Just read it. I don't want to waste your time now. Read what Trump said about the Anchorage agreements on the very day when he held the press conference with President Putin. 2 or 3 days later, what he said then. Just read that. He said that the foundation for the settlement, and Russians agreed to the proposals made by the United States. And just one small remark in this regard. Today or yesterday, Washington Times, I think, wrote, Moscow is missing opportunity to develop economic relations with the U.S. that was suggested by Trump if it participates in the negotiations on Ukraine in good faith. That could have improved the state of the Russian economy, but the authoritarian regimes think about their survival and not about the welfare of its citizens. Please note, they are saying that if Russia agreed to what Trump suggested, to what Trump proposed, if they were involved in these talks in good faith. Well, I hope that the journalists here have a different attitude to their professional ethic. So maybe you can tell them that we read this and we are responding to this. We have accepted the proposals made by Trump in Anchorage and Alaska, and the European allies is trying to stop Trump from implementing these agreements. So the American negotiators, they can resolve the tasks, do the jobs that the president is giving to them, and we have our own jobs. We have our own job to do, and President Putin put it clearly that after all the efforts to resolve the situation peacefully failed when everyone, all those who signed those previous documents, that they were lying, and then they admitted that they were not going to implement anything. We will continue with doing our job. Thank you. The press conference is over.